All right, they can hear us, but they can't see us. But instead, they see a really
hear us,
fancy... Huh?
but they can't see us.
That's right. They instead see a really, really gorgeous-looking depiction of Wildstorm, thanks to Jim Lee.
Which version?
It's the new one. Not the Josh Davis Hunt Wildstorm, but the Jim Lee, Brandon Choi, J. Scott Campbell.
Going to look at it right now. Yeah, it's the cover. It's the cover to the hardcover.
Exactly, which I am so gay. I heard so many great things about this hardcover, and I don't know what's real and what is. Do you know?
What do you want to know? I got it. I got it last week because I'm good friends with the guy Ben Abernathy, who deserves all the credit for putting it together.
Nice.
He's a super cool dude. And what do you want to know? I'll tell you. I read through it. I do. I love it.
What do we get with this hardcover? Do we get, I assume we're going to get, like, original design concept art of some of the characters?
No, it's more, so a lot of it it's stories that were never published.
No, okay. So it's just original stuff that we've never seen before.
Yeah. You want to know what the coolest thing in it is?
Yes, I do.
In my opinion? Okay, so the very end of the book ends with Wildcats #1. Now, not the Wildcats #1 that you're thinking of. It's the Wildcats #1 that is by Grant Morrison and Jim Lee. Do you remember that version of Wildcats?
I'll have to take a look, because I think I do.
Okay, well, they only published one issue. So and I was so excited for that series. It's got a great cover. I think it's the late 2000s. I think it's like 2007, 2008 is when it came out.
Oh, yeah, the one with Grifter on the cover where he's like firing. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So they reprint that in there. And then after that issue, they show you what issue 2's cover would have been.
Oh.
And then they give you the script to issue 2.
Oh, that's awesome. So so any of you who picked up Wildcats #1 17 years ago, you're going to get a little bit of closure, even though it's issue 2. And
exactly. I thought that was the coolest thing because for me, I've always said for years that that's the series that I wish I had seen. Like, I wanted to see the 6-issue arc. I wanted the first arc. I wanted at least a trade out of that one, and we never got it.
Yeah.
And I like that issue 2 is like really cool. Now, some other stuff they do in it is they reprint the original Wildcats #1, the Image one, and
the one I have 12 copies of. Yes.
Yeah, they do it in black and white, so they just show you Jim Lee's inks.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's an Authority story that's published in there where it's completely uncensored because they only published the censored one.
Right.
There is a brand new Gen 13 story from J. Scott Campbell.
No.
Campbell. Yep. It's only 4 pages.
That's cool.
So.
Is it set in that universe, or is it like one of the many DC incarnations?
I don't want to give it away.
Yeah.
It's sort of a little thing like that, you know.
Okay.
So,
cool.
I just want to say, someone in the chat, Matt Rita, he kind of blows because he says that I blow. Think I can't read the chat, you idiots.
We're all here.
So there's a new Gen 13 story. They got Jim Lee to draw a brand new Deathblow story for it.
Oh, nice.
So a lot of it is like these new little things. Like they got a bunch of artists. Oh, they got Dustin Nguyen to draw a brand new like Wildcats 3.0 story.
That's awesome.
So it's little stuff like that, and then there are pinups in between. Like they asked a bunch of people to do pinups, and then just like unpublished art that you've just never seen before.
That's really cool. And
so it's a nice collection.
And you'd never get it if it wasn't actually acquired by DC. I'm always wary of like larger acquisitions of smaller comic publishers because like sometimes they disappear, and actually quite a few of these guys we're going to talk about disappeared because of that.
Yeah.
But you'd never get this hardcover if you just left it up to the guys over at Wildstorm separately, or anyone from. When is the definitive like hardcover Rob Liefeld book coming out? Like we're never going to see anything like.
Oh
it,
man,
would have to finish the damn thing.
I mean, it's kind of like Image United.
Yeah, that. Well, that
thing's never gonna happen.
No. All right. Well, let's get started. That was fun.
Sure.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Elseworlds Exchange. I'm Sal, and I'm joined today by Jason Inman of Jawiin and DC All Access. What up, man?
Hey, dude. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to talk about comic book things that we have forgotten about.
Yes, that we as a collective group have forgotten, and it's shame on us for letting them fade into obscurity.
How dare us? We're assholes.
Right? What is the matter with us? That's actually rule number 1 of any show, is at the top of the show, insult your audience.
That's right.
Before we get started, Jason, there's a lot of great stuff that you're working on. Of course, what are some of those things, and where can they find them?
Well, first off, we're going to talk about comic books. I love talking about comic books. Sal, you love reading comic books. Me and my wife have made a comic book. It's called Jupiter Jet #1. Now, you may have heard that we did Kickstart it a while ago. Well, it's going to come out in comic stores on December 6th, and that means that it's in October previews. And if you don't know, comic fans, that means that this is the time that you need to go to comic book shops and tell them to order Jupiter Jet. It's a Kim Possible meets the Rocketeer type story set in 1935 about a girl with a experimental jetpack. It's like the best steampunk Pixar movie you've never seen, and we're really proud of it. What's that? Sorry?
That they'll never make, because
that they'll never make. Yeah. So if you would go to if that sounds like a cool thing to you, we have a cover by John Boy Myers from the Teen Titans and Royals fame. He's a really amazing artist. And it's in October previews, page number 254. Or you can just go to your local comic book shop and be like, hey, give me some of that Jupiter Jet, if that sounds like something for you. But this is how you support comic books. This is how you make sure that the comic books don't become forgotten.
Oh, good transition. I like that.
Yeah, we're really proud of it, and please go check it out.
Yeah, I picked up my copy over at New York Comic Con this past month. And
yes, you did.
My copy's over there. It's on the other side of the room. I'd show it to you, but I'd have to get up, and I'm not going to do that. So, yeah, let's jump into it. Today, we're going to be talking about Forgotten Universes. I guess we'll start with one, just to give you everybody an example of what we're talking about. The Amalgam universe, which was created from the Marvel DC co-productions after the Marvel versus DC event that took place in, I want to say, 1997 or something.
Yeah, I think you're about right.
Maybe 96. But the idea being that the climax of that story, spoilers, is that the two universes themselves merge, and that all the characters merge, and then you get a whole new universe birthed out of it. And it has a big cult following, but you never really see anything about it except for horrible Access type spin-off series that eventually dwindle and die. But it's this whole separate universe with a whole rich mythology and all a bunch of different characters, and the people who worked on those one-shots that came out that were set in that universe really put a lot of effort and work into them. And
a lot of them are really good.
And I wonder, it's funny because this is just kind of talking about publishing and stuff, but Marvel and DC are kind of intrinsically tied, and while they are competitors, if one were to die, I feel like the other would also be hurt in an irreparable way.
I agree.
And so if we're all in the same boat and we're all in this together, why not just form a satellite company that makes that's literally called Amalgam Comics, that just makes those books, and just go, the deal is we split it down the middle. Our exclusivity contracts do not apply to Amalgam Comics as a special clause, and we just publish Dark Claw books and Super Soldier books and Spider Boy books.
I want Spider Boy the most.
Right, I hated Spider Boy because he represented the Spider clone to me, and I was like, no.
Oh.
But
the toughest thing about that though is how Disney has stopped any of the crossovers between the two companies. I've been told that by multiple DC editors.
Yeah,
have told me that they have pitched crossover, because if you notice, DC is actually doing a lot of crossovers. They're doing IDW crossovers. They're doing their Boom crossovers. They're crossing over with a lot of companies right now.
This is a new renaissance for DC crossovers, and it's actually kind of funny because I remember in the 90s, Marvel was crossing over with everybody. There were quite a few Wildstorm crossovers with Marvel, and DC was kind of. I remember there was, I want to say 94 to 96 or something. There was this Bat embargo where they were like, no Bat, you can't use Batman in anything except for this one thing. And it was because they felt like he was getting too oversaturated. They were just using too much Batman, which is hilarious to think about today.
Fun fact, we were talking about a little bit earlier, the Wildstorm, is it 30th or 25th anniversary?
I thought it was 30th, but it might be.
I think it's 30th. I think you're right. The 30th anniversary hardcover, in there's a piece of art by J. Scott Campbell about a abandoned Gen 13 Batman crossover.
Yes, I've seen that art, and let me tell you, having read the Spider-Man Gen 13 crossover, I think it would have been horrible. But I want it. I want to know I want to know who wrote that and where that script is, because
I don't know, man.
Because
locked
they gave
up in
those
the
books to
garage
anybody.
dimly.
We covered JLA. We covered JLA Wildcats.
I like that series.
I think that was horrible, but it's written by
Grant
Morrison. And it's can you imagine who would have written the Batman Gen 13 crossover? It would have been somebody like, they could have gotten Frank Miller or Alan Moore.
It probably would have been Chuck Dixon, to be honest with you, at the time.
No doubt.
It probably would have been Chuck Dixon.
Well, he did that. I think he did both of the Batman Punisher crossovers.
He did, the one with Azrael and the one with normal Batman.
Exactly. Obviously.
But yeah, you're right, man. Amalgam is like this series that I think 20 years after, it's funny, I've reread most of those issues actually this year because I tracked down all the trades this year because I was like, I really want them. And, you know, rereading them without the nostalgia glasses, a lot of them aren't great, but the idea of them are so amazing. And because they're based on these like long-lasting characters, they have such an expansive history that new universes generally don't have. It's because we're leaning on the histories of like Superman and Wolverine and all those characters.
Yeah.
So like that universe seems so much more expansive than it actually is.
Right. And you also get a chance to parallel those characters and see the kind of shades that they all share. You know, you're able to run those parallels and go like, no, actually there is kind of a correlation between Bruce Wayne and Wolverine. I never really thought about it before, but you know, we can actually do something with this.
What a weird sentence.
Yeah, what a weird sentence. It's true. But yeah, the Amalgam universe. But that's the example we're going for. Is just these universes that had a history and an a continuity and interconnected characters, and they all hinged on each other. People forget that, like, actually, when Image first started, they were like, "Hey, we're a shared universe," and so Spawn and Shadowhawk and Savage Dragon—they're all in the same universe, and they could all bump into each other at any point. That, of course, became a real clusterfuck for them when
they abandoned it real quick.
They ended it real well. I feel like you know, it's funny. I think that they ended it a lot later than they should have, based on some of the things that like I have in my in my storage closet that have things like the Spawn Wildcats crossover, which is written by Alan Moore and is horribly terrible. It's just atrocious. But you
know, that universe actually sort of still exists because Invincible has all of those heroes show up, including Spawn.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, it really, I think that's less of a testament to the rich history of the of the Image universe than it has to do with the like bullheadedness and the refusal and stubbornness of the creators. Like you'll notice that like Hellboy showed up at some wedding in Savage Dragon. It's just because Eric Larson's like, I want to see Hellboy. I want to see these characters. They show up. Robert Kirkman's like, these characters show up in Invincible because, I'm writing Invincible, and I think I was editor-in-chief at the time, so I can do whatever I want.
Also, too, Savage Dragon just recently crossed over with Spawn because I saw the trade, because that's the run where Eric Larson wrote Spawn for a while.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, and of course he was like, Savage Dragon's getting in there, of course.
Oh, of course. And as I understand it, there was a little bit of bad blood between both Larson and McFarlane after that they both were that they both had kind of confusion or frustration with each other's use of the characters, and that's what happens when you have an interconnected universe where all the creators can do whatever they want with their characters. You know, like
I heard that as well. I heard they did not end that run as friends.
No. It's funny. The one thing that reminds me the most of like the Image universe, and it's not Image United, is actually the Mars Attacks the Image Universe crossover.
I remember that.
First of all, it's an intercompany crossover. Topps Comics, which published stuff like Mars Attacks and Jurassic Park.
Talk about a forgotten universe.
The Topps Comics universe.
Yeah, right.
But Topps Comics crossing over with Image, and then the Martians attacking like Shadowhawk and the Max and Spawn and Savage Dragon, and some of those books having like spin-offs, and some of those characters actually winding up dying and being like experimented on, or there's actually a rape in one of them. But a lot of character and story happens in this random crossover, and it affects the Image universe. I think that's probably when the writing was on the wall for those guys, and they're like, we got to stop. We can't all share
it was also the same kind of thing, and we're kind of going into like this weird crossover episode.
Yeah, it's true.
But it's okay. It's all right. You know, it's kind of like the Stormwatch Aliens crossover.
Oh yeah.
Which all the Stormwatch characters were killed by the aliens, and then that's what launched Authority.
Right. Which is a brilliant way to do it, although albeit convoluted and kind of like insane.
Agreed. But it is a way to make a crossover actually matter.
Yes, I love when crossovers have weight, or when they don't waste time trying to explain how the crossovers happen.
Yes.
Actually, that reminds me of the Wildcats Aliens crossover, where I was so just baffled and confused. I'm like, first of all, Warren Ellis wrote this. Secondly, what is happening? Like, the aliens are actually connected to their mythology. But it was all in continuity and part of their relaunch of those characters in that series. Nuts.
You know,
Yeah, go ahead.
can I throw out a forgotten universe
Please
that
do.
now I see a bunch of people talking about Milestone. We'll get to Milestone, even though Milestone's not really a forgotten universe anymore.
Not anymore.
Which I'm fine with because I love that universe.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about Malibu.
Okay. Yes.
And is it the Ultraverse?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Malibu created Ultraverse, or at least they acquired it or used it. But yes. Ultimately, they had Ultraverse.
Because I remember seeing those characters advertised all over Wizard and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can even remember, do you remember the classic that was the Nightman television show?
I do remember the Nightman television show.
It was so bad.
It was horrible. Almost as bad as the Ultraforce animated series on USA.
What? I didn't even know that existed.
Oh, it's solid because it has an intro. First of all, the theme is just a man screaming the word Ultraforce 4 times.
Okay. Like Wildcats. Got it.
Yeah, with a sick... No, well, Wildcats at least has some lyrics. They're zeros, not heroes, and so forth. Ultraforce is just a guy yelling or just screaming. It's like a Surge commercial.
Ultraforce!
It's literally just a guy going Ultraforce. It's the only thing worth watching is the theme. Every episode is available on YouTube for free right now until such a time as anyone wants to claim they own Ultraforce, which
okay, I'm sorry. I gotta put this on pause because I gotta hear, as a fan of bad 90s
cartoons.
Ultraverse. All right, I found episode 1.
There you go.
All right, I'm gonna turn up the volume on this,
cool.
okay?
Let's do it.
Just a lot of noise.
Well, there's a lot of stuff happening.
Okay. All right, that wasn't as... All right, I'm sorry, listeners. I'm sorry.
What's amazing is the intro to Ultraforce also shows you like all the characters, like Ghoul and Prime and Hardcase and Topaz, and it's amazing to look at this team because it's just basically all the characters that were created in Malibu on a team, and how disconnected they all, like, there's no cohesion between any of them.
There's also too, like, you look at that team and it is every bad 90s cliche that you could ever think of on one team. You know, but here's the thing, like, I remember when Marvel bought the Ultraverse and we started mixing. Remember when Marvel characters started appearing on some of the team books? Like Juggernaut was on a weird team.
Oh yeah, no. I remember Spider-Man meeting up with Prime. I remember the Phoenix Force was resurrected for the first time since the Teen Titans X-Men crossover.
As an Ultraforce character.
Yeah, as an Ultraforce character. And I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like
they were trying to get their bang for their buck, man.
And as I always heard it, the reason why why Marvel even bothered with Malibu, because it's not like they were competing in sales or anything.
No.
Was just because the coloring and the print quality on Malibu comics was so good, and yet the price of the Malibu books was so low. Marvel couldn't believe that they could get away with making such top quality books for such low cost. And they're like, they've got to be fudging the numbers and messing with some, but we need to know how they're doing that coloring. And it turns out it was just digital coloring, and they were, and it was on the up and up. But when they acquired it, they didn't do anything with it, and they just went, oh well, okay.
You know, that is the same thing. That is a rumor that has gone around for years of why DC bought Wildstorm as well.
Really?
Was partly because of Jim Lee, but because Wildstorm's coloring and inking department were so amazing that they were like, we want those guys.
Yeah. Well, it's similarly, I think Event Comics was the Palmiotti Quesada team up, and
they did Ash.
They did Ash, exactly, the firefighting superhero, and Marvel acquired them because and more or less, literally, that's how Marvel Knights was born. They were just like, you guys from Event, we're going to outsource these characters that aren't selling, like Daredevil and Punisher, which you can't even believe, and the Inhumans, and just make books about them and call it this. So there is actually kind of like a history of the big two acquiring companies smaller than them, because they're doing something right, or they're doing something that they want, and they don't want to like just have lunch with them like regular people. But yeah, I do.
They even made action figures of Ultraforce, dude. I remember that.
Malibu. I don't know where the money was coming from, but like somebody was doing something right over at Malibu. I think it was just that was the time. Like I feel like if you
to try anything, you mean?
I feel like if you and I were our ages now in 1994, we would have had like
a comic book company.
A comic book like each of us would have had our own comic book company, and we would be equals, and we could have sold at least a 24 episode cartoon run on UPN or on USA or something, because they were taking everything and anything. It was
all right.
It was incredible.
What do we call? No, I want to. No, we can't breeze by this, Sal. We need to name our comic book company like right now.
All right, let's say we we're both too small. We need to collaborate. We need to work on something together. I mean, I've always liked your Jawiin name. I kind of dig that, but
I'll stick with that. All right, fine.
I wouldn't have gone with something. I would have gone with like basement or something, because I was always hanging out in the basement. I don't know.
I had a friend. I have a couple of friends who have always wanted to own a comic book store, and they always for years had the joke of to call it Electra's Alley to get like the sex joke in there. But I've been like, no,
not worth it.
Langley Neely says mix Jawiin and ComicPOP. So is it Pop Jawiin?
Yeah, Popwin or Comic Win.
Popwin. I like Popwin. That's it right there. Popwin.
And just a big exclamation point, because everything's got to be like extreme.
And
and we publish these books, and I honestly feel like our universe would look a lot like Ultraforce, where it's like here's a character over here and here and here, and they all look completely different. I'm down.
Yeah, Popwin Comics.
Popwin Comics. We watch out, Marvel. It's the biggest thing to come out of 1995.
That's right. We were the best. Like, here comes Trash Man.
I mean, like, what's funny is that's kind of how these guys got their footing. I mean, all we need to do now is just call up our buddies Gareb Shamus and Jim McLaughlin and get full-page spreads in Wizard Magazine. We got it made. That's how Techno
works,
Comics,
man. That's how it works.
Yeah. That's how Techno Comics became a thing. If you're not familiar with Techno Comics, they were an interconnected comic book company that also managed to get like major creators like Gene Roddenberry and Leonard Nimoy and Neil Gaiman and like Tad Williams, and get these people who had names and street cred and have them just do whatever they wanted.
I remember. Apparently, people in the chat are going crazy because I'm labeled as Joel, but you know what? I don't care.
Whatever. He's not here, guys.
Yeah, relax. Yeah. So I remember those comics, and remember you talked to me off mic a little bit about it. And I didn't even remember their names. But as soon as you said, like, oh, Primordials, I was like, oh, I remember those stupid ads.
Yes.
They were all over. You know, it was kind of funny. There were certain comic companies that would just plaster Wizard like they were the Gestapo fighting World War II.
Yep.
Like dropping leaflets everywhere. And they were a company that did that. Also, CrossGen was a company that did that too.
Yep. CrossGen, absolutely. It's actually kind of spectacular to see. Like,
I guess CrossGen would also be a forgotten universe as well.
Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, that's actually a good. They qualify. They were not on
my
list, but
they were interconnected. Yeah,
they were interconnected. I'm trying to remember any characters from CrossGen. And
there's only two good CrossGen titles ever, and the two are Ruse and Sojourn.
Okay.
And the reason why they're so good is because Ruse is written by Mark Waid, and it is a Sherlock Holmes pastiche.
Yes.
And do you remember? How much of CrossGen have you read?
Like very little.
Okay, so if you don't know, like some of CrossGen's thing, they were all some character in every book had like a sigil. That was the sign of the CrossGen universe, the little symbol they had.
Yes, okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it gave people powers and stuff like that. And in Ruse, his assistant had the sigil, and they basically ignored it. So it was just Mark Waid writing a Sherlock Holmes book. It was awesome.
I could see Mark Waid doing that.
Yeah, and then Sojourn was good for about the first 30 issues. I think it went to 40, but it kind of like fell off the rails.
Right.
Ron Mars wrote it.
Okay.
And it was Greg Land before he copied every porn star picture he could ever find on Google.
Wow, so we get to, if you want to see like true Greg Land pencils, go back, pick up Sojourn.
Sojourn, yeah, and that one's pretty good because it's sort of like a D&D. It's about this like girl that finds a sword and basically tries to conquer the demon. It's actually pretty good.
Okay, it reminds me a little bit of stuff like Witchblade and Darkchild.
Yeah, they're hard to find, although you can find Ruse because Marvel absorbed CrossGen.
Yes,
and Marvel actually had Mark Waid write like another 4-issue miniseries under the Marvel banner, under Ruse. And then they took that miniseries and then they collected it with the old CrossGen stuff and like released like a trade of it. And it's actually, I think it's if you like Sherlock Holmes, you'll like it.
Yes, I remember Ruse now because number one, Mark Waid wrote it. Number two, Dan Slott recommended it to Tiffany. He was
nice.
Like, oh, you know what you want to pick up is Ruse by Mark Waid from Marvel or something. Like,
and you were like, what is that?
Yeah, and we've been looking for it. Now I know why I can't find it. I will say, the only reason why I even remember Primordials besides reading the Wizard
Did you buy it? Be honest. Did you buy it?
I bought it. I bought a copy of Primordials. It was in a dollar bin at in Pennsylvania, and I'm like, and Tiffany's like, "Is this from those freaking magazines?" And I'm like, "It is. We gotta get it." And I read it cover to cover. It's the worst. And
it's really bad.
What's even worse is it's not just like, okay, cool. It's Leonard Nimoy got to write a comic book and it's bad. No, it's based on a concept that Leonard Nimoy and two other people came up with. And then they had someone else write it. So Leonard Nimoy's Primordials is like maybe 1/10 of Leonard Nimoy's idea.
Okay.
A complete bait and switch, just to trick you.
Just to get his name on the book.
Just to get his name on the book.
Okay, as a person who's seen these ads, and you're the one person that I know that has actually ever bought that comic book.
Yep.
What can you even explain what it's about?
Oh yeah, no. It's in space. And it's like a bureaucracy on a spaceship.
I was waiting for you to just stop. When you said like it's in space and just stop.
Really, it is. It's in space. It's really dumb. And like there's like a coup that's gonna happen. It's just I was like, I'm trying to read through it and I'm like, this is incomprehensible.
Wow.
But at least the art is as good as any industry standard book that came out during that time.
Yeah, it was great.
It wasn't horrible. Like it was just a standard looking book. It wasn't transcendental or even really impressive, but it was impressive in that it at least was competent.
Yes. Was it? And if you don't remember, it's fine. Was it any kind of a name who drew the art? Is it anybody that's?
No.
Okay.
I don't think
was it somebody that went on to something?
I'm gonna look him up because I want to see.
Yeah, I'm very curious. Like that's the thing about like even with CrossGen and stuff like that. The thing about CrossGen is you have to remember is that like, and even Ultraverse.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the guys that drew those books are like became big deals in the 2000s.
Okay, I mean like this guy Scott Eaton drew it.
That name sounds familiar to me.
He worked on Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, X-Men Messiah Complex.
Okay, so yeah, he's gone on to other stuff.
Yeah, and he had been working in the industry since at least 03 or 98 rather. So he was an actual like penciler. And I guess that's just because people were looking to make money. Mm-hmm. I think it's also amazing.
You're also looking for your first book as well, like your break-in as well.
I mean, the dude was drawing Dr. Fate before that. I think he was just like, cool, Isaac Asimov, I'm in. Like
he probably was like, oh man, Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah, will Mr. Nimoy be in today? Like,
no, he'll never be in.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop asking.
I gotta bring. He's gone. I was gonna say like the next Star Trek convention, bring a copy of Primordials, but he's no longer with us, so he can't sign it. But
yeah, that's true. I wonder also if he would just slap it out of your hands.
Yeah, I think he would look at it and go, "Why does this have my name on it?"
He might, dude. He would have got to him. Like, what is this?
I feel like it's so weird and out there and not in any way related to him. I want to say he probably just licensed his name.
He probably just had like an idea. He wrote it down in an email, sent it off to somebody, and they were like, "Let's publish it."
Yeah, done.
It's just crazy.
Yeah,
but I don't blame him, man. If people would pay me just to send off emails, I'd do it as well.
Yeah, you kidding me? Totally.
So.
Hey, you know what's a weird universe that actually existed and I never really understood it or knew the difference between them when I was picking them up was Marvel UK. Did you ever read any Marvel UK books?
Okay, I don't think specifically, but correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't that sort of like what Excalibur came from and stuff like that?
I don't remember Excalibur being involved. I know that Excalibur was set in the in the UK, but Marvel UK was more like Death's Head 2.
I remember Death Head.
Yeah.
It's not great. It's not great.
The book that I picked up was Wild Thing because Venom and Carnage were on the cover. Then it turned out Wild Thing was basically an Aeon Flux ripoff.
Okay.
Plus, like, virtual reality.
What?
It was a mess. I don't even know what it was supposed to be, but it was just this weird decision. There's like a team. I remember that called. I don't remember what the hell the team was, but there was like a big, crazy-looking, gun-toting team that Doctor Strange like visited.
They try to like pick up the sales. They were like, "Hey, here's Doctor Strange."
Yeah, we'll pick up all those Doctor Strange readers to get them over to read Marvel UK. Weird decision. I don't understand it, and they never really did a good job of actually like articulating what they were doing and why it was like separate from Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Really weird.
That is weird. I can't honestly say that I've actually read a Marvel UK book then.
Yeah, I've read 3, and they're really weird.
I'm going to Google it right now just to see.
Yeah, just look at them.
See what these are.
Yeah.
Wild. I see a lot of Captain Britain.
Yes, a lot of Captain Britain. So that's probably where you got the Excalibur.
Oh, Warheads was the team you were thinking of.
Warheads. Thank you very much. Warheads.
It just popped up here. You know, how dare we forget Warheads?
Yes. They're just begging for a resurgence. If Marvel's legacy is worth its salt, then we will see Warheads come back.
Yeah, as we know, that's the true problem with Marvel. They forgot Marvel UK.
They forgot to. Yeah, I mean, where's Wild Thing? Where's Warheads? Where's Death's Head?
Oh my God, nobody's asking for Death's Head. Although I did see that they just made an action figure of him.
I saw that very same action figure at a Target not 2 days ago, and I went,
"Yep,
who is this for?"
Yeah, I couldn't believe it either. I was like, yeah, who is buying? I was like, they're really stretching for figures, aren't they?
Right? I mean, like, we really just make the figure that you need to buy them all to assemble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what you make Death Head for, yeah.
Yeah, like...
Oh, my God.
I guess we could move on to the next one.
Sure, let's do it.
Hey, speaking of Marvel, remember when MC2 was spawned out of the Spider-Girl series?
I do. I like MC2. Although it's funny, I didn't like MC2 when it was coming out. Mm-hmm. But I have grown to appreciate it over the course of the rereading some of it, because I actually like Spider-Girl, that Mayday Parker series, a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's really good. It's probably the best thing that's in there. Oh, man, Marquis Miller just brought up the Mutant X universe. We got to talk about that one, too. We got to table that one.
Yeah.
But MC2, like, I remember when it was published at the time, I remember thinking it was a stupid idea, because I was like, why do I want to read Avengers Squared when I can just read Avengers?
Right. Well, and especially when you saw who was on that team, where it's like, oh, it's Kid Juggernaut and American Dream and...
Yeah.
What?
You're like, who's this? I don't know who this is.
I mean, I read them. Like, I didn't read all of them, but I did. When Spider-Gwen was being, like, used to try and boost sales in a universe that A, doesn't exist, and B, is in the future, and C, stars no one I like, I was like, I'm not in on this. But I really admire just how far it went. Like, they were struggling to sell Spider-Girl books, and they were like, and we're going to make the Avengers. And I think they were called something else, like A2 or something like that. It was...
Or Avengers Next, maybe? Or,
no, that's the animated
I'm going to
universe.
Google it right now. They had crazy names, I remember.
They had crazy names, yeah. Like, but weird designs. Like, I was just like, okay, I see what you're doing. Oh, Dark Devil?
So it was Spider-Girl... A-Next,
A-Next,
J2, and then remember they did Fantastic Five.
Yes.
And then Wild Thing.
And Wild Thing.
Another Wild Thing. What the hell, Marvel?
That's right. And Wild Thing literally just looks like X-23.
Yeah, it was Wolverine and
Elektra.
And Elektra's daughter, which was ridiculous. And now Fantastic Five, because also not to be confused with the Fantastic Four 2099.
No.
Where that was the Reed Richards that had been transported to the future, just like Doom had been transported to the future. No, Fantastic Five consisted of this amazing team that you're going to love, Sal. The Human Torch.
Yep.
The Thing. Big Brain, which was actually a Herbie.
Just a Herbie joke, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was a Herbie that actually had Reed Richards' brain in it.
Okay.
Lila the Skrull from Fantastic Four that Johnny married, that everybody loves. and Psylord Franklin Richards. Which, by the way, I have always hated that name for Franklin Richards, Psylord.
Psylord? That's horrible.
It's just terrible. Such a 90s name.
Yeah.
MC2 is not a bad. I'll give you this about MC2. MC2 comes from a time of Marvel Comics when Marvel Comics, I feel, was like they weren't so confident in their main universe.
Right.
And I think they looked at Heroes Reborn and were like, how do we replicate that? And sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. Like I think 29.9 really worked.
Yes.
Whereas MC2 half and half.
Yeah. And
then Mutant X only could work for like 40 issues.
Now, here's the thing. I don't even know anything about Mutant X.
Oh my God,
you have to explain
dude.
Mutant X to me.
So Mutant X was a forgotten universe that is only in one comic book, a comic book called Mutant X. Now, there was an issue of X Factor in the late 90s, I believe, where Havoc got blown up on a plane.
Okay.
But he was around some weird device or something like that, and it blew him into an alternate reality.
Okay.
And when he woke up, his consciousness woke up in the body of the Havoc of that universe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he found out that in that universe, he was the leader of this team called the Six. And it was basically an X-Men continuity that was completely different. So, like, Spider-Man still had 6 arms in that universe.
Okay.
He was married to Madeline Pryor in that universe. Iceman was still suffering from that 80s storyline where Loki cursed him, and so he can't touch another human being.
Okay.
So he's constantly Iceman. Beast was actually called Brute. He had like experimented on himself so much that he was like a green sort of like vampire creature with hooves. And then Archangel never spent longer under Apocalypse's control than any other universe. So it was the idea that they had only freed him like a couple years ago.
Right.
So he was like super fucking evil.
Okay, cool.
Oh, and then Storm was still a vampire.
Right. Naturally.
So that was his team, and it was the whole series of him like navigating the waters of this universe, but trying to figure out how to come back to his universe.
Yeah.
I liked it. I can't remember. I think Tom Rainey. Am I saying that artist name right? Do you know who I'm talking about? I think Tom Rainey was the one who drew it. But if you Google Mutant X Marvel Comics, the designs of their costumes are so good, and I think that's half the reason why I decided to read the book. Like if I Google the image like Mutant X right now, and you can see like the main team, like Havoc. That's the best costume Havoc's ever had.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, but it only ran for about I think 36 to 40 issues, and then it was basically just canceled.
Right, just unceremoniously, I assume, with no.
Yeah, basically, but it was enough for me that like I don't know, I didn't care about Havoc. And that series, actually, because the designs were so cool and I like that logo, I read it, and it is a universe that I miss. I would love for them to go back to the Mutant X universe, or just to publish a title that takes place completely in that universe. I
am honestly shocked that they didn't bring that back during Secret Wars.
You know what? Me too. Me too. Because I don't even think it's on the Marvel app, which is a shame.
Oh, that's weak. No, it's got... At the very least, if you are looking for it, I feel like if you go to any place with a lot of like long boxes, you could probably get it for a song.
Oh, I have looked on eBay several times because I've thought about buying it and like binding it myself, but I've never pulled the trigger on that purchase. But yeah, I will say, looking at the Wikipedia here, I did not know this. Apparently, Mutant X was only supposed to be a 12-issue limited series.
Oh, right on.
But it sold so well that they turned it into an ongoing.
Good for them. Wow.
Yeah. So is the idea that they didn't think would work.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, here's an idea that didn't work, or ultimately only worked a little bit, was Marvel's Tsunami, was their attempt at being like, hey...
They're all Marvel. What's the deal here?
And I think you hit it right on the head, which was Marvel didn't have confidence in their own universe.
Yeah.
Where they were just like, I don't know. This is the last one, by the way. This is the last Marvel one.
Oh, okay.
But Marvel was just like, how about this? We know the characters we're sell. We just know that no one cares about our books. So how about this? Although this was Marvel Tsunami was their attempt at doing like an Eastern influence thing. I think Big Hero 6 came out of Marvel Tsunami. I think Runaways came out of Marvel Tsunami.
Runaways
really
did.
Sad
Yes.
that Big Hero 6 has been completely pushed into a different. I don't think Marvel is publishing Big Hero 6.
I don't think so. But I'll tell you what, man. Man of Steel Studios or whatever they're called,
Right.
or
Man of Action, yeah.
Man of Action Studios. I think the way they adapted Big Hero 6 was great, and I went back and read some of the Big Hero 6 comic books because I was very curious from the movie.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I think they should be on their own. I don't think they work in the Marvel Universe.
I think anything can work in the Marvel Universe, but I also would not begrudge them not being connected to the Marvel Universe.
Like, I'm excited for that new cartoon.
Oh yeah, looks great. Although I mean, I liked the movie. We'll see, but we got our first issue of Big Hero 6 signed by Chris Claremont while at New York Comic Con, and he was like,
"Oh, nice!"
And he was like, "Hey, thanks for rating Big Hero 6." He was like legitimately surprised and excited.
Was that this year?
It was this year.
I saw him walking around very briefly. I didn't introduce myself though.
Oh man,
That's cool, man.
He was super nice. I've heard varying stories about Claremont. Having met him in that environment, he was super awesome.
Nice.
I was very happy to have that experience. But yeah, he was like, "Yeah, this is not what." He's like, "Did you see the movie? It's not this." And I'm like, "No, it's not."
I like how he was like, "Have you seen the movie? Not mine."
Yeah, well, it ain't mine. Don't bring that poster over here. I won't sign it. But yeah. Do you remember anything about The Greatest World, which was from Dark Horse?
No.
It had
what is that?
I think it had like Ghost in it. Back when Ghost was.
And is that like cement, like John Byrne's cement? And...
Yes, and cement. Thank you. Or concrete.
Concrete. That's right.
Yeah, concrete. And
I mean, come on.
And the big one that I remember, which was just an awesome image that I saw in a lot of Wizards, was X.
I remember X because she was no, Ghost is the ghost lady.
Yes.
X is
Gail Simone's
I'm trying to look up a picture of X. Yeah, it has a giant X across his face.
Yeah, and he had an X across his face. Yeah.
Did you say that was a Gail Simone?
I know Gail Simone wrote a lot of Ghost books after the fact. I don't know if she created Ghost in that universe.
All right, Stephen Grant is the guy that is credited with X. I'm gonna look up Ghost. I'm gonna look up Ghost right now as well.
Yeah.
Does not say.
Here we go.
Kelly Sue DeConnick.
There you go. I'm sorry. You know what? It's Kelly Sue DeConnick.
It's all right. It's all good.
Right
Ghost
on.
and Batgirl, the Resurrection Machine happened though.
Yes.
In the 2000s.
Nice.
Yep. No, I forgot about that universe. I think that universe has been forgotten for good reasons.
Right. Well, it didn't. There's nothing remarkable about it.
They all see like copies of archetypes of things that Marvel and DC were already doing.
Yeah.
Which is the biggest problem with the Ultraverse as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Ultraverse is just here's things that you might confuse with other things that you're already buying.
Teva Smolka brought up what about Top Cow, and I would nix that from this list simply for the fact that I just saw that the Wishblade is going to be republished, and also I know they've been publishing for the last year Magdalena.
Yeah.
So that universe hasn't really gone away.
No, and I think it also kind of qualifies a little bit when we're going to talk about like the other spin-off universes like Wildstorm.
Sure. Yeah. Like Wildstorm sort of hasn't gone away. Milestone did go away, but now Milestone's back. Dude, have you read Milestone?
Oh yeah, I have the first Static Shock trade.
Oh, so you should get the Icon trade as well.
I should.
Its Icon is so amazing because it's like, what if Superman landed during the Civil War and he was black? It's amazing.
That's a great concept. That's a great pitch.
Yeah, it's so good. And that whole universe is so great. And I actually was really excited when I was watching Young Justice and Icon and Rocket showed up on there.
Yeah.
I thought it was really great, and I'm very excited that we get to see that Static is actually going to be in Young Justice season 3. When they announced that at New York, Static Shock and Milestone and all of them are coming back. I'm so excited to read those books, and I'm so glad that universe is coming back. So technically, I wouldn't consider that a forgotten universe anymore.
No, the right people never forgot it, and everybody who if you read the Milestone universe, then you will always remember it, and it's very like intrinsically tied to some experience you've had as a reader.
Yeah.
But it is forgotten in as much as like there'll be waves where it just isn't there, or like isn't referenced in any way, or they don't they won't publish certain Milestone books.
Yeah, they couldn't decide. They couldn't decide for a while there too whether they wanted it to be part of the DC universe or be separate for a while.
Yeah.
Then they kind of flip flopped on that a couple of times.
Right. I think it works either way. Honestly,
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. Yeah, I prefer it separate. I would prefer it as just its own little planet in the multiverse.
Yeah.
But yeah, when Dwayne McDuffie was writing Justice League, he brought Icon onto the team.
Right, which is a great idea.
It was great. It was so good. And I've been saying for years that like Static Shock would make the Teen Titans title so much better.
I agree. I think that book needs him. I think
Yes.
Man, Icon, what a great idea putting him on the Justice League.
Yeah, because he's, Superman. Well, I mean, one, of course, and this is coming from a couple of white guys. It helps make the Justice League not so white,
right?
Which is always a good thing.
Well, without shoehorning characters that don't necessarily fit on that team.
Yeah, and he's also a stand-in. He's also a stand-in Superman.
Right. So so Superman doesn't have to be in the book, or you can do other things with him.
Exactly. Superman can go take care of Lois because Lois is a beauty, but I guarantee you she's a lot of work.
Oh, no question. She is what they call high maintenance, if you will.
Yes. Yeah, but she's a good high maintenance.
I love Lois she's Lane. Worth it. She's worth coming home to. It's just that, damn.
Yeah.
But yeah, Milestone, not forgotten, but still, like, I think if you were to replace it with another word, like underappreciated.
That's a better, I think that's exactly right.
I do have, like, that huge World Collide crossover, which I never got a chance to read, but I do have.
Oh, it's so good. It's very 90s, but it's good.
Right? Yeah. No, cool idea.
Yeah. I saw a couple of people in the comments mention Fawcett comics.
Yes. Yeah, I remember them.
That's a tough one for me as a Forgotten Universe, since so many of those characters are in the DC universe, especially their most popular character, Shazam.
Right.
Captain Marvel. But Bullet Man and Bullet Girl have been in the DC universe. Spy Smasher has been in the DC universe. Phantom Eagle has been in the DC universe.
Yeah.
Minute Man has been in the DC universe. I don't know. That one's a tough one. Where would you go down on that ruling? Because I don't know. That one's a shifty one on this if it's forgotten.
I think that the Fawcett universe only exists because of Superman. And I think that if it, like after because I assume the Fawcett, like all the properties of Fawcett were acquired after the lawsuit over Captain Marvel. I think that I think the Fawcett characters certainly have been forgotten or marginalized.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I don't think the Fawcett universe even really qualifies as a universe.
Yeah, because they don't really have that much of a shared continuity.
Right. Like it was before they started thinking about that.
Yeah. And the only reason why eventually Fawcett Comics went away basically is because DC wanted to buy away its competition.
Exactly.
To get rid of this guy that was outselling Superman.
Right, and indeed they did, and
then they took care of that guy real quick.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't think it counts. Although, I brought you back to a place that you didn't remember off camera when we were talking about another DC imprint called Impact Comics.
Yes, now tell me about this one.
Okay. What I was actually shocked to discover more recently than I care to admit was that Impact was actually an imprint created by DC Comics. When I first encountered Impact as a young kid, I noticed, this is a totally separate... It had no DC logos or iconography whatsoever. It was entirely, it had youthful, kinetic art, and it had, a lot of really iconic-looking characters in it, and so I instinctively picked it up. I got a copy of The Fly, and
I remember The Fly,
and I really dug it because it was basically just pre-Ultimate Spider-Man.
Because it was aimed at young adults, right?
Yes, it was basically their all ages imprint.
It's weird, dude, because I always thought that those comics were kind of like Fawcett. They were just some sort of comic book universe that DC just bought up. But I guess they weren't. They're all original characters, I guess?
I think so. I don't know much about them, but I do
they are... Oh, I'm sorry. I just looked on Wikipedia. They are revamped versions of superheroes that were licensed from Archie comic books.
Oh, well, there you go. So,
wow.
Okay, so DC put, their spin on them, and honestly, I'm not a huge Archie fan, like overall, particularly in like the Archie superheroes world. But seeing the DC spin on those characters made them interesting. Like,
yeah, they're bringing a lot of those back too.
Are they really?
Yeah, Archie's gonna. I just saw it. I think the Shield is the one that launches it up. I'm gonna try to Google it and find it. But
I think you're right.
Archie is bringing back their superhero universe.
Now that's a question as to whether they will be, if they'll be like this, like the Impact characters, or if they'll be their own versions. Like if DC has any legal claim to any of them.
I would say probably not, because it's the idea that they bought the license, and the license is, they don't have the license anymore, so it's completely Archie now.
Evidently, according to the wiki, Archie Comics relicensed them to DC in 2008, although I don't remember reading anything close to what that was.
I don't think they did anything with them.
And then they just relaunched them back in 2012, but under their own thing, which they created an imprint called Red Circle Comics, which stopped existing 3 years ago.
But I think they're doing it again. I think there's another. I swear to God, I saw something at San Diego that the Archie is going to try their thing at superhero comics again.
Well, that'd be cool. Okay, I mean,
and I think it's some of these characters.
Honestly, like I dug the universe and the characters and the approach, because while it was targeted for younger kids, I remember not feeling like it was talking down to me. And it was a little bit refreshing to not have to deal with anyone being murdered or like attacked in any violent
refrigerated
way.
Or refrigerated.
Yeah, no one was fridged in the Impact universe, and I was like, this is very nice. Like, it's just a refreshing kind of fun take on these superheroes. So, if by the way, go back and check them out. I saw in the same long box that I found Primortals, I saw a few Impact comics, and I bought 0 of them.
Where was this mystical
This was
box
in Hazleton, Pennsylvania. It's a cute little like Gilmore Girls-esque shopping town.
Okay,
it's a great town. Next time you're on the East Coast, we'll drive the hour and go
Sure.
and go.
Yeah, this sounds,
go shopping. It'll be nice.
This sounds crazy. Wherever this place you found.
Oh crap! What's the name of the comic book store? Actually, let me look that up, because they like us. They're fans of the channel.
Give them a shout out. Yeah, hardcore, man.
Crap, what town did I say it was?
I have no idea.
Oh, well.
Help them out, chat room.
Yeah. Oh, New Hope. It was New Hope, Pennsylvania. I think I said Hazleton, which is like a joke.
You did say Hazleton.
There's nothing in Hazleton, Pennsylvania.
Oh, is that the truth? Okay.
It was a mining town that, like, I think it has a Penn State satellite campus, and that is the last thing that has it Hazleton. Oh, it's Phantasm Comics in New Hope, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Go over to Phantasm Comics in New Hope. They're fun and great, and they have a really great store. Go to my Instagram, ComicPOP Official, and check out some pictures we took while we were there. It's a really nice
in the store.
Sometimes they'll show our show on their little TV in the comic book store.
Really? That's cool, man.
I didn't know any of this until I heard it, until I met the dude. He's like, "You're on the internet, haha." Like, I show your show on my little TV, and I'm like, "That's amazing."
That's really cool.
But yeah, so this is it's a magical place where you can find all these great stuff. But yeah, so I guess that's that. I mean, are there any other forgotten universes that we can talk about? Or because I'm down my list. That's
no, I don't think we have any forgotten ones. Some people brought up Valiant, but Valiant's not forgotten anymore.
No. It was forgotten until Dinesh showed up.
Yeah, but otherwise, I think that's it. I think I think it was a good topic coming about Wildstorm and stuff like that. And Wildstorm's back now, and there are other universes out there that aren't just Batman and Spider-Man that are actually pretty good. Oh, the new universe.
Oh God, no.
I don't like the new universe.
Neither do I. What's interesting is Starbrand was literally just in Marvel Legacy, so like, no, not forgotten at all. In fact, like it's almost like they refuse to forget about the new universe.
Yeah, I think it's because they're so ashamed that it didn't work. Do you remember Warren Ellis tried to reboot New Universe with Salvador LaRocca, and Salvador LaRocca drew all of the characters like TV stars.
Oh God, I don't remember that, but I do remember.
Yeah, it's bad. Like it's like I love Salvador LaRocca art, but like it's real bad, like copying.
That's weak. No. Any of the universes we've forgotten were forgotten for a reason and belong on another list somewhere.
They should be forgotten. That's right.
They should be. Screw the new universe.
Although I will say I do miss the Ultimate Universe.
Oh, of course. Who doesn't? I mean, like, Yeah, I think Tiffany has an interesting theory about the Ultimate Universe, which I guess I'll share now, and it's just that, like, that'll be where the young diversity characters will be shuffled.
Oh, interesting.
Like, there'll be a spin-off universe, and they'll stick Riri and Amadeus and, like, Miles and so forth over there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well, that's because you think the eventual reboot is coming.
I don't know what the hell. Honestly, a reboot would mean that they actually have, like, a plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they do.
I don't think they have a plan.
No plan. I mean,
I don't think they have a plan at all.
I think that the closest thing to a plan is that one day an evil Celestial's going to attack the Marvel Universe.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that means. I mean,
that's not a bad idea because I love Miles. I really do. And I think him being in the normal Marvel Universe is one of the worst things to his character. I actually wish that I would have been fine if they would have destroyed every other character in the Ultimate Universe and just give us the one title that is Ultimate Spider-Man.
It's the one title that always worked.
Yep.
And sold.
Yeah, and you know what? They do that for Spider-Gwen. Yeah. Like, she's in an alternate reality, so why couldn't we have done that for Miles?
I agree. Because
is anybody liking Spider-Man 2? The answer is no.
No. I mean, like, not only am I not digging it, I could have seen the Miles marginalization from a mile away. I remember when they were like, "Yeah, Miles is gonna come to." I'm like, no, why? Then he's superfluous.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not like they're gonna. It's not like they're gonna kill Peter Parker.
Yeah.
For any length of time. I mean, they've already killed him 3 times. Like, forget it.
Yeah. I did see somebody brought up First Wave. Do you remember First Wave?
First Wave.
First Wave was the DC Comics imprint where they combined the Spirit, Doc Savage, like a Golden Age Batman that used guns, and the Shadow together.
No, I don't remember that. That sounds cool.
It happened in like the mid-2000s, and they launched it with a miniseries called First Wave. It was drawn by Rags Morales and Brian Azzarello.
That's awesome.
I actually have that hardcover because it's great, because it's really cool to see like a Golden Age Batman interact with Doc Savage.
Yeah.
Now, they did that miniseries, and then they launched out all the characters into their own solo series, but none of the solo series sold. So the whole universe like left
died
in like a year.
Well, here's the question. Like, was there a First Wave Batman book?
I believe there was.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look it up. I know there was a Doc Savage one. I know there was a Batman.
Doc Savage special.
It's weird because they don't. They haven't collected. They haven't collected like really any of it.
Yeah.
Except for the miniseries. And I actually stumbled upon it in a pawn shop like about a month ago, and I bought it like as soon as I could find it because you just never see it anywhere. That's
really cool. That's more suited for Azzarello, I think. So
yeah, it really great. And Rags Morales, I'm trying to figure out. I want to say they did. I want to say they did do a First Wave Batman title.
That's cool.
But
I'll have to go check that out because I had no idea it existed.
Yeah, at least if all you read is the first miniseries, it's a good read.
Nice.
So
does it end?
It sort of ends, but like sets it up for where they all go into their solo series.
Oh, okay. No, that's fine. That's enough of an ending for me. I'll take that.
Yeah,
I hate reading a book and then knowing it's not gonna go anywhere.
Yeah. Now, their ongoing series, I don't know because I've never read any of those, but I do know like a lot of the main thrust is just Batman grinding up against Doc Savage. And I don't mean grinding in a sexual way. I mean more as like their methodologies don't work.
Right.
And so they really hate each other at first.
That's really cool. I think that's neat.
Yeah.
Man.
It's a good, and that's a good forgotten universe. That's a universe that I really wish would come back.
Yeah, I dig that. I mean, like I assume it's one of Morrison's 52 or something.
I think to be honest with you, I think DC lost the rights because DC doesn't own Doc Savage or the Spirit. Oh. And I think they lost the rights to both of them, and so I think it's the reason why that won't come back.
Interesting. Wow. Yeah. Well, that also means that book probably will be completely out of print.
Oh, for a long time. Yeah. Again, that's the whole reason why I jumped on it when I saw it.
Damn. All right. Well, I'll go look for it. Well, thank you. You put me on a wild goose chase for a book that I know I'm never gonna find.
Here's another one I would love to hear about from you. Did you like Supreme Power?
Yeah, I think it was good. As I remember, I haven't read it in a long time. But that's the Straczynski universe.
Yeah, Jason Maxwell Straczynski and Gary Frank.
Yeah, I read the first volume, and it was really dark.
Yes. Oh, so I like it. I have the whole collection of it. Now, there's 2 series in that. There's Supreme Power, and then and that was a Max series.
Yes.
And then they do they rebrand it as Squadron Supreme, and then they make it like a Marvel Knight series.
That's what I remember it being. What I was confusing with was Squadron Supreme, but I do remember Supreme Power because I have the first volume.
Yeah, Supreme Power is somebody in the comments is asking. It's when Marvel rebooted their Squadron Supreme characters and made them basically very adult. I think it's an amazing series. I think it's really good, and it doesn't end in Supreme Power is the problem, and then Squadron Supreme is not great at all, the follow-up to it, and so it kind of just stops.
Okay.
And none of the characters get resolution, but I think it's so good that I would recommend reading it anyway. There's also, if you just want to read like one little thing of it, there's a Supreme Power Nighthawk series.
Yes.
And it is a series of imagine Batman with no morals. And I'm not saying Nemesis.
No.
I'm saying Nighthawk. It's a really great series.
Cool. There you go. Well, there you go. We thought we were done. We got 2 or 3 for the price.
We got a couple more. There you go.
Nice.
Yay.
But, hey, thanks a lot for hanging out with us. Thank you, Jason, for joining me on this episode.
Always a pleasure.
Of course, call your local comic book store and request they get a copy of Jupiter Jet because it's a solid book. I've read it. I endorse it. And I think it's just a fun story. And if you're looking for something that's like an all-ages title but with the maturity of an actual, like, for anyone, I think you really dig it. It's fun.
Yeah, that's the way we kind of sell it. It's not specifically a kid's book. No. It's just a book that everybody can read because we don't write down at all. But it's an idea that we had in our heads for a long time, and now it's physical and real. So yeah, Jupiter Jet #1 comes out in December.
Check it out, guys, and we'll see y'all next week. Thanks a lot for hanging out with us, and of course, stay tuned here on Comic Pop to watch our Halloween episode of Back Issues, where we covered Scott Snyder and Jacques' Witches. It's a really great episode, I think. But anyway.
I saw the fire.
Nice, thank you. See y'all next week. Bye.